Right. Even during an international break, Chelsea just can't keep themselves out of the headlines with reports of a rift between co-owners Behdad Eghbali and Todd Boehly surfacing. We have our chief reporter, as you can see, Kaveh Solhekol, here on set with us to discuss the latest developments at the bridge. Goodness me. So, go on then. What's happened? Why are Chelsea in the news?
Well, I mean, there's always something happening at Chelsea on and off the pitch. The background to all this is that obviously, for 20 years, Chelsea were owned by Roman Abramovich. He effectively ran it as a family business. Everybody knew that he was in charge. And although his ownership of the club was very controversial, as far as Chelsea fans were concerned, the vast majority of them loved Roman Abramovich, and the club won lots of trophies. Now, just over 2 years ago, we had the takeover. Roman Abramovich was forced to sell Chelsea because he was sanctioned by the UK government. And if you remember, the face of the winning consortium that came out on top in that takeover battle was Todd Boehly, this American businessman who'd put together this consortium. He became the new owner of Chelsea. But of course, he was not 100% the owner of Chelsea because there was a consortium, and 62% of the money for the takeover was provided by a private equity firm in America called Clearlake Capital. And the face of Clearlake in English football has been Behdad Eghbali. Now, to begin with, Todd Boehly, even though he only owns around 13% of the shares in Chelsea, he was the face of the takeover. Yeah. He was the sporting director. If you remember 2 summers ago, that famous transfer window when Chelsea seemed to be buying so many players, he was the one calling the shots. He was the one running the club. Now, you have to say that initially, that first year of American ownership, things didn't go particularly well. Chelsea were in the headlines again for, lots of different reasons. So last year, Todd Boehly stepped back from being the main man, and Behdad Eghbali and Clearlake Capital took over the running of the club. And that's why we've seen so many changes, new head coaches come in, this controversial strategy in the transfer market, buying young players, giving them long-term contracts. That's all been Clearlake. And effectively, Todd Boehly has been sidelined. Now, last night, we had this report from Bloomberg, a very well-respected financial news service. And what they reported is that both sides, so Eghbali and Todd Boehly, were considering buying each other out. And the relationship between the two men had deteriorated, and they no longer saw eye to eye on quite a few things like recruitment, why the team was underperforming, why more progress hadn't been made on redeveloping Stamford Bridge. And for that reason, it looked like one of them was going to leave. Were either side perhaps considering selling up? Would we see a split between Behdad Eghbali on the one hand and Todd Boehly on the other? Now, the information we have is that Behdad Eghbali and Clearlake Capital, who own 61.5% of Chelsea, have absolutely no intention of selling up. They are not going anywhere. They are totally committed to Chelsea. So if one person is going to leave, from their perspective, it would be Todd Boehly. And if Todd Boehly wants to sell his shares, or if anybody else wants to sell their shares in Chelsea, then Behdad Eghbali and Clearlake Capital are willing to sit down and talk with them and potentially come to a deal whereby they would buy even more shares in Chelsea than they already own.
Oh, OK.
I hope I explained that.
Yeah.
It's quite a complicated story for a Saturday morning, but did my best.
No, it's very understandable. So there has, what it looks like, been a fallout. If they can't work things out and shares need to be sold, if Todd Boehly leaves, does that seem like something that would happen more realistically over Eghbali, or what sort of does happen next?
I think if one party is going to leave,
it's going to be him.
It's going to be more likely that it's Todd Boehly.
Yeah.
Although, having said that, our information is that Todd Boehly is still committed to Chelsea. The key question is, have the two men fallen out? Now, my reading of the situation is that they were never best friends.
Okay.
They weren't best buddies. They were very, very successful businessmen who came together to buy Chelsea. And I think their relationship, from the few times that I've met both of them together, what came across is that they were very businesslike. I didn't get the sense that they were hanging out with each other and going out every night to dinner together. They were in this for business. Now, obviously, they're both very successful, very rich people who've made a lot of money in business, and they've got their own ideas about how businesses should be run. I think I wouldn't stick my neck out and say that, you know, they've fallen out or they're enemies, but my reading of the situation is that their relationship is professional and businesslike and cordial, but no more than that.
Right.